Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue watching 90 Day Fiancé. I'm going to react to the show and see if anything of interest comes out of my face. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. A little reminder that everything I say is completely speculative based on very little information on a TV show and should be taken as such. I never want to diagnose from afar. I'm not interested in doing it, and it is unethical to do so. Let's watch the show.
What has he done? What happened?
I told him already that no more chat, other girl, and then he did it again.
Right. So he's rolling his eyes right now, and I hope that his friend can help him see the light here. That it's not a matter of that he talked to her. It's a matter of that he made an agreement with Hazel that he wasn't going to talk to her. And the analogy I will sometimes give people is in my office, in a situation like this, I would say, so let's say that you just made some arbitrary agreement that it was a litmus test for trust. You might say something like, okay, you can read any of my books, but do not touch that book right there. If you touch that book right there, that will very much hurt my feelings. Okay. So we all understand that that's kind of, if there's no reason to want that to happen, for you to be sensitive about them touching that book. Well, if in every day you're like, okay, just a reminder, any book, you can read any book, not that book. If someone takes that book and starts reading it, you come into the room, you're going to say, what's going on? Now, you don't care about them reading that book, but you did ask them to please not read that book. It's going to hurt your feelings, one. Two, you're going to wonder, what else are you doing that is against our agreements? Are you holding any kind of secrets against me? Do you care about my feelings? Do you really love me? What's going on here? There's a lot of questions that arise when you see a behavior like that. Okay. So then you extend that to something like this, where she said, do not talk with our ex-girlfriend, and he agreed to it. Now, if he had said, look, I don't know if I can agree to that, then they could have had a conversation about it. They might have still come to the same conclusion, but from the sound of it, he said, okay, I won't. And then he did behind her back. So that's the issue, and that's what Hazel has been saying over and over and over again to him, that it hurts that he went against their agreement, that he went behind her back and did something that she didn't want him to do. And it would make sense. It's intuitive. She was already jealous. She didn't like their connection. It threatened her. It's pretty clear to him. So it shouldn't be a mystery to him. But I think for him, there's some kind of trauma that's being triggered in this moment. I don't know. But it's also, as I've been saying in previous episodes, common for the cheating partner. And I'm calling him the cheating partner not because he necessarily cheated, but he's on the spectrum of cheating in that he reached out to someone that he agreed he wasn't going to. Anyway, often the cheating partner will, deep down what they want is a connection. So deep down he likely wants a connection with Hazel. He wants stability. He wants love. He wants her trust. He doesn't want her to be upset at him. He doesn't want to feel ashamed. Okay, it makes sense. All of us want that. Most of us want that. And he doesn't know how to navigate out of this situation, so he's taking a shortcut, which is to try to put Hazel down and say, like, you're being ridiculous. The thoughts in your head and the things you're saying are stupid, and I'm going to roll my eyes, and I'm going to be exasperated, and I don't know what to do. Instead of saying, you're right, I did something bad, I'm sorry, I guess this hurt you way more than I thought it would. I didn't know that, but that's okay. You're totally right, and I'm dedicated to building trust back. But that's not what he's doing, because I think something else is going on for him. I don't know what, but let's continue watching.
And Hazel was like, "Who is that? Why is she calling?"
I messaged the girl. I said, why you call a lot to my fiancé? And he said he feel embarrassed.
It is embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing.
It is embarrassing because you should tell her, don't call my phone like that.
Okay. the friend's response is a common response, which is not a bad response. But Hazel is saying is that Tarik has another friend in the Philippines. I'm going to assume it's a woman who suddenly seems to be calling a lot. He says he's had this friend for 8 years. And Hazel was concerned and sounds like went behind his back. I don't know. Communicated with her and said, "Why are you calling?" And he didn't like it. Okay. So what's really happening here? Is it really a friend? How does Hazel feel like she... So this is how things get worse over time. That when you go behind someone's back, even if you believe that it's innocent. Look, I was just reaching out to Minty because of the pandemic. I was worried about her. Look, I just wanted to ask her about how to meet a third person because we were having a hard time. And but from Hazel's point of view, it's like, well, you didn't ask me beforehand. If you would have asked me, I would have said, no, I don't want you to reach out to her during the pandemic. Or at the very least, I would have said, well, do it, but I don't like it. It would have really mitigated the amount of pain and distrust I have for you now. Now, when she sees another woman from the Philippines calling, now Hazel starts to wonder. I wonder what Hazel would have done if that hadn't happened with Minty, if Hazel would have been more conversational about it, like what's going on with this person. And Tarik says, oh, she's just a friend. At that point, Hazel would have been able to trust him. At this point, she can't trust him because he has proven himself to be a liar by omission. When you lie by omission, you are telling everyone who finds out that you are the sort of person who will do that. Now, maybe you only did it once. Maybe literally it was one time in your entire life you did it once. But how can Hazel know that? She would be stupid not to think that there were other things that she is being deceived on. Maybe she's not being deceived, but that is the insidious nature of lying and lying by omission, which Tarik did. So the friend is saying, you're wrong, you shouldn't be communicating with her. Certainly that is the fastest answer. But this is not necessarily the best answer for every couple. People have friends, sometimes of whatever gender, and sometimes that is going to threaten the spouse, the other spouse, and that doesn't automatically mean that we have to completely get rid of all of our friends that threaten our spouse. What it means is, one, make sure you aren't actually going down a road that will threaten your spouse. That's primary. The other is to make sure the attachment between you and your spouse is strong enough such that your spouse isn't actually threatened by that other person. And this is the thing I really want people to focus on when they think about this in their relationship, because a lot of people get in these kinds of conflicts. You are friends with your ex-girlfriend? That is wrong. You're talking to your ex-boyfriend? That is wrong. It's not wrong. What's happening is that the relationship, you do not feel secure. You do not feel safe. You do not feel like you can trust that person. You don't feel like if they hung out with that person, they're not going to go off with that person and do something or leave you or something. If you feel strongly connected and secure and safe and assured that this person truly loves you, then you don't care who they hang out with because you know your spouse and you can trust them. And when they say to you, that person is just a friend, believe me, I am not attracted to them. I'm only here for you. Our 20 years together have proven that. And I just believe me on that. And then if there's never been lying by omission, if there's never been deception, if there's never been infidelity, then the spouses and both people have been through a lot of therapy, then both people can feel in their heart that they can trust their partner in a situation. So for Tarik to have this friend is not inherently bad. It's in this situation, it might be the best move to cut off from that person to preserve the relationship. But the real issue here is that Hazel does not trust Tarik for good reasons. So that's what I want people to focus on, because that's really the issue there, right? And the other thing here is that when we have friends, because most people don't have enough friends. When you do research, most people feel like they don't have enough friends. And we live in a very isolated society in the United States, and we have a big problem, a lot of loneliness, a lot of lack of support, a lot of lack of connection and relationships, attachment. And so let's say you do have a friendship with a former partner or someone that threatens your current spouse. We want to preserve those relationships. Those are important. So if there's a way to do that and not have your spouse be upset, then let's try to move down that road, which again is creating stability, safety, attachment security, and not lying to each other.
Because of what happened with Menti, this makes me not to trust Tarik.
This is not the same situation. She's definitely making a mountain out of a molehill.
Very disappointing. So, yeah, it's not the same situation to you, Tarik. But how could Hazel know that? You've already proven yourself to be a liar by omission. So how is she supposed to trust you? When you lie, when you prove to others that you are capable of that and you will resort to that, then everything you say is now in question. And the only person that can reassure Hazel is Tarik. If Tarik says, no, trust me, she's just a friend, why would Hazel believe him? This is the insidious nature of lying by omission, as I've been saying. Now, there's a road to recovery, as I always say. They have to work together. He has to admit that he did something wrong. He has to accept the consequences of what he did by saying, well, and this happens all the time. So if they came in to me, there'd be a scenario probably, because I've worked with a lot of people in situations like this, much worse situations like this, but situations like this where we talk, the three of us, and eventually we land on the solution of, and we would hope that Tarik would actually suggest this through our Socratic conversation, that he would say, yeah, okay, you know what, I need to cut off my relationship with that friend, not because I'm actually doing anything with her or want to do anything with her, or she wants, she's not a threat, but I understand now what I did in the past has damaged Hazel's trust in me to such an extent that I need to go to extreme measures to gain that trust back. Maybe after a few years, I can have that relationship again and it won't scare Hazel. But until that time, I'm going to make some sacrifices to make up for what I did in the past, because I don't want to have Hazel continually being triggered by my behavior. And then over time, as Hazel's trust builds, then she can handle it. She can, okay, it's been 3 years where you haven't lied to me, and I believe you, and I feel very secure in our relationship. And now when you tell me that she's just a friend, I believe you. Back then, I didn't believe you because I didn't have enough time of non-lying behaviors from you to really trust anything you said.
I didn't mean that to fight her. I just want to know.
You don't need to explain yourself, sweetheart. You had every right to ask her.
But this is somebody who's been a good friend, at least online, for years. I think...
Yeah, he's good in defending himself.
He's full of crap. That's what that is. It's called the mansplain. It's no need to mansplain it. It's wrong. It's dead wrong.
I wouldn't call that mansplaining. I would call what I do on these reaction videos every single time is, I guess, slightly mansplaining, because I'm just yammering on it. I guess I can't really mansplain unless I'm talking over someone in person. But anyway, I suppose I could mansplain if a woman on this show were to be saying something. So I guess I'm mansplaining to the friend about what mansplaining really is. I think that the term mansplaining has a definite place in our culture. A lot of dudes mansplain, including myself, and it's a sexist thing. We've been programmed to be this way. We've been told when we're young as boys that in order to have any value, you, one, have to be dominant, particularly over women. Two, you have to be smart. You have to be in control. You have to be alpha, all that kind of nonsense. And it creates this pressure for men to establish themselves constantly because they're insecure. But I wouldn't call what he's saying mansplaining. What I would call it is he is very badly trying to defend himself. I think he thinks that if he keeps defending himself, eventually Hazel will say, okay, Tarik, you're right. I see your point. But it's only aggravating the situation. The more Hazel continues to say, you hurt me and I'm disappointed, and will you please stop doing that? And the more he becomes exasperated, the more she's not going to trust him. Because now he's starting to look like someone, and I don't know, but I'm guessing to Hazel, as someone who might be doing all sorts of things behind the scenes that he wants to defend. That's the first thing that a lot of people who chronically lie will do. When you accuse them of lying, they'll have these very quick defensive reactions to things. And she actually pointed this out last episode, where she was being calm and pointing things out, and he was getting real amped up. Like an analogy, you come around the corner and you see your son. He's 7 years old, and he's got cookie crumbs all over his face, and the cookie jar is on the corner. Do people still have cookie jars? That was always the analogy when I was a kid, was, the kid has his hand in the cookie jar and when he's not supposed to. Anyway, just imagine that, and you come around the corner and you're like, hey, did you eat cookies when you weren't supposed to? And the kid says something like, oh my God, I can't believe you would accuse me of that. I mean, you're always accusing me of everything. Nothing I say means to you. You always think I'm lying. I can't do anything right in your eyes. Kids will actually do stuff like that when it's obvious that they're lying, because they have learned that if they come out strong, sometimes, every once in a while, the other person will go, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to accuse you. And he's doing a version of that, I think. He's being caught in something. Now, so there's a wide range of possibilities here. One is that the only transgressions that he's committed are the ones that we've seen, which aren't terrible, but would concern a spouse for sure. Or on the other end of the spectrum, he's doing all sorts of stuff, because now we're hearing about another woman that he's been communicating with and seemingly not caring about how Hazel would react to that. And what else is he doing now? And that, now, again, from Hazel's perspective, that would make sense. And I guess for me too, watching this, I'm wondering what's going on here. Is he being defensive because of that? Now, last episode, he was talking with his friend, and Tarik seemed to be opening up. So maybe this friend will help Tarik too.
Just because I am bisexual doesn't mean that Tarik is allowed to talk to any girls he wants.
Okay, she's still using the word bisexual. Okay, so just a little bit more mansplaining here. What she's talking about, I believe, in the context of the word bisexual, I think what she means is non-monogamous. The fact that she's bisexual doesn't have any bearing on these other relationships, but the fact that she is non-monogamous or polyamorous, the two of them are, that's the issue. Just because I am polyamorous doesn't mean that you can be with other women without checking with me first. Yeah, makes total sense. And polyamorous, non-monogamous people will have extensive healthy non-monogamous polyamorous people will have extensive conversations about that, very healthy communication, and they're very careful not to lie, not to deceive, not to break that trust. It's very important to healthy polyamorous couples that they talk and establish up front and check in with each other, which this couple is not doing. I really hope that they find a poly-friendly, non-monogamous friendly therapist to help them with, because I think with some fundamentals they could actually improve quite a bit, and it would really help their relationship.
I still want to find a girlfriend, but I have to choose the girl, not Tarik.
The reason it's embarrassing.
Okay, so that's interesting. And that's always been my question there too, is when they involved Minty, was it really what she wanted? And when they were looking online to date other women, does she want the woman for herself or for her and Tarik? Because in non-monogamous relationships, it could be either. She could say, nope, I just want a woman just for me. I don't want the woman to be with Tarik. Tarik can be with other people as well, as long as we talk about it beforehand. But I want someone just for myself. She definitely seems to want that. She's been talking how she wants a best friend. She wants a companion, a lover, a best friend, like a sister. She's someone that's very, very close to her. She wants that, and that's clear that she wants it. But it was unclear to me if she wanted also the woman to be involved with Tarik. It sounds like in the beginning it was like she didn't mind, but it was hard to gather that from her. And again, without someone there to guide them on how to be how to be polyamorous, how to be in an open relationship, she might not know, so what are the options here? Without some mentorship or guidance, they might not know what the possibilities are or what questions they need to search inside themselves on. And so now she's saying, no, I want this person just for myself and not for Tarik. Okay, makes total sense. Is Tarik okay with that? What does Tarik want if that's what she wants? And they need to have a conversation. Now I'm kind of worried, honestly, because before, when they were both dating someone, then they would both consent to the person. That would be how things would usually work out. But now she's saying, I just want someone all to myself. Now Tarik might say, I don't want you to have that. If you're going to be involved with someone, they have to be involved with me too. Because if you're just going to have a full-on romantic relationship with someone, that's threatening to me, which would be okay for Tarik to have. But they're not having these conversations. So I'm really worried about this.
Alpha males like Tarik, it's hard for them to accept when they are wrong. And I'm afraid that by virtue of her being open to invite a third party into their relationship, it's going to make him think that she's going to be open to many other things. And I just see that there's going to be a constant conflict with them.
Yeah, I think that the friend is right, that, or possible, that for Tarik, because of the ambiguity and the boundaries, he's having a hard time figuring out what is okay and what's not okay. And again, if they had someone to walk them through this, then it would maybe clear that up for him. I don't know. I also just wonder about Tarik's issues. You know, one of the things we sometimes see in this show is that as the relationship intensifies, as they get closer and closer to the wedding date, sometimes their traumas start to come up, which makes sense, right? You're more involved with someone, you have more fears, you have more at stake. And I wonder what's going on for Tarik in this moment. I wonder what kind of traumas are coming up. If I was to take a guess, I would say that, and this is a total guess, given the vibe that he has right now with Hazel, he's essentially making Hazel feel like she doesn't matter, right? And he is proceeding forward as if her needs and her wants don't really matter. I'm guessing that's how it would feel to Hazel. Sometimes the way we make other people feel is an indication of our traumas. So I wonder if for Tarik, he often felt like he didn't matter, that his feelings didn't matter, that people could just betray him at will and he just had to deal with it. And so maybe through projective identification, he is recreating that with Hazel. It's just a total speculation.
How about you block her?
For what?
It makes her uncomfortable. She has moved herself across the world to be with you.
So I gotta block all my friends.
That make her uncomfortable. It's something about her that makes her uncomfortable. This is about to be your wife. You need to do whatever it is you need to do to make her emotionally comfortable.
So, yeah, a bigger conversation is necessary around all the issues, but it certainly would help. And the friend's being pretty straightforward, I think pretty fair, and she's getting to the heart of the matter, which is you're doing something that is making your wife uncomfortable, something that you don't really need to be doing. Now, Tarik is saying, I've got to get rid of all my friends. Okay, so now, and that's the conversation that I wish they would have. It's like, what is okay? You know, what relationships are okay? And again, it all comes down to the fact that he broke her trust, and now the friend is aggravating something that it might not have aggravated if he hadn't have broken her trust.
Technically, I still don't think I was wrong, but love isn't technical. And we are days away from getting married. So I can't let this fester anymore. I broke it, so I gotta fix it. Otherwise, there might not even be a wedding.
Okay, 2 thumbs up for Tarik. He's saying something that is a pretty good proverb to follow, if you will. That what did he say? Something like, this doesn't seem logical to me. It doesn't seem fair to me, but love isn't always logical and fair. And so if I have to do this, I have to do this. So I'm guessing from Tarik's point of view, he's like, look, she's just a friend. There is nothing wrong with what's going on between me and that person. And maybe he truly believes that. And again, that's not the issue. The issue for Hazel is that there was trust that was broken, and now something else is happening that looks like it might be a threat. And Hazel is like, Do you love me enough to make this sacrifice and recognize my feelings? I think that's what's going on for Hazel. If you want to email me, you can go to the website and click on the contact page. Go to psychologyandsaddle.com, click on the contact, fill out the form, and you can email us there. That's the best way to contact us if you want to email us. The other ways, it's hard to know if we're going to see it. Commenting, DMing, it's hard to know if we're actually going to see that because there's a lot of different ways. And I'm too old to keep track of all that stuff. And that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.